it. So, hey, my name's Robert Beal. You're watching an episode of the BiehlCast. The thing that's exciting about this is that I'm just doing it with musicians, and we don't have to talk about work or business or anything, except for their work and business of being musicians. So I've got Danny with us here for the first time on this side of the camera, and then I have Malek Azrael. And so, Danny, like, how do we end up here?
I ask myself that a lot.
I'm not talking about cosmically. I'm talking about tonight.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like in life on Earth. I don't know. I've been watching a lot of Ancient Aliens recently, and that's been so eye-opening, especially with like the government. Wait, no, we're not gonna get into that. I think honestly, I had seen a couple of the different things that you were posting on like Instagram. I think we got connected through Eric somehow, which is another one of my clients, and he spoke very highly of you. And one day, I swear, I saw this man post a song with one of his stories that was like the most not loan officer song. And I was like, oh, this guy knows something. He's cultured, he's seasoned. And so I think I slid up and I was like, dude, sometimes the songs that you pick are like actually really good songs.
And again, I've said this so many times. I chase affirmation. That is like dopamine. That is mission accomplished. Yeah. Mission accomplished, and it counts because you're not much older than my son. Okay, so Malek Azrael of Malek Azrael and the Vibes.
Yes, sir.
I mean, how'd you get here?
How did I get
So
here?
how? Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, so are you originally from Kansas City?
I am.
Okay.
Born and raised like all over. Started off like Prospect, Truce, Woodland, Euclid area. And then went out to Grandview for a bit, finished school in Lee Summit, and came right back on over to the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what are you doing in this city? What do you do?
I am a artist, singer, songwriter, musician, producer, teacher, social media.
Extraordinaire.
Yeah.
I just kind of anything that's creative. I try to get like I have like a fingertip or a toe in.
Yeah. So you're like this like modern Renaissance man here in Kansas City, and I look at it and I'm like, I wish I would have made some different choices so I could have, been that guy at some point. But
I don't think you ever not feel that. Like I'm at 25. I'm like, dang, I should have made a different choice at like 17.
Yeah, you're
Honestly,
you're absolutely right. And so Danny, where are you from? Kansas City? I know the answers to these questions. So
no, I'm not originally from Kansas City. I've probably been here for like 3-ish years, going on 4 now with 2025 starting. But I grew up in like Calexico, Imperial Valley area out in California, which was like the last border town before you get to Mexico.
Right.
And so I spent a lot of my summers actually in Mexicali. But yeah, I was out in Colorado Springs for about, honestly, like during COVID. And so that kind of derailed my decision making. And I was like, damn, should I have actually like moved to Colorado? And I was getting into a funk, especially just because the music scene out there is a lot different than it is here. And so eventually I got an offer from a really good friend of mine who was like, dude, there's an opening as like social media person. I know that's something you've been wanting to get into. I went to school for like film and media and I loved it, but I was having a hard time after COVID kind of figuring out what I wanted to do and if it's something that I could get into with the amount of schooling that I did with zero experience, just because I was just right out the gate, right out of college. I was like, okay, let's try to figure something out. And I learned that in like a creative space, for us to have any validity, you have to have experience. So I was like, okay, screw trying to like keep going on and getting like my bachelor's. I'm going to take what I learned with film and media and like business entrepreneurship and just use both of them at the same time and just try to gain experience. I worked in corporate for a little bit, which was just for this body jewelry company. And that's kind of fine-tuned my skills and started my own thing after like 2 years-ish of it just not being what I wanted. The work environment was super weird. Everybody was, I don't know. It's like everybody talks to you with like an email persona, so to speak, you know? Yeah. And it's like so different when you and I talk or when I talk to any of my other clients. It's like we'll talk about what we're going through in our life more so than actually planning. And I feel like in the corporate sector, it's like they don't care what's going on in
Yeah.
your day to day. Like as long as you finish that spreadsheet and like turn in that video on time, then you're great. You're a great person. But
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
really what it is.
I mean, and for me to be completely, I mean, all I want to do is just make friends all the time. I mean, that's the thing. And so, you know, when the way we got connected as far as like production and social media, that type of stuff, I'd seen what you were doing. I thought it was cool, but I also saw it as like an opportunity to like connect with somebody different, you know, just somebody new. And so you mentioned the music scene being different here. I mean, what is the Malik? What's the music scene in Kansas City?
So the music scene is for the longest part of the year, like a long while, the music scene was like a hole in the wall. You didn't know until you like were there, and then you like had to like figure out how to keep walking in, basically. And then now it's like grown to a part. I feel like I put
That's
that in
so real. Yeah, that's so real. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what he means by any of it. So, but you guys are much younger than me. So,
actually, I can tell you what I mean.
break it down.
So like, for me, when I first was getting into the music scene, I didn't think it was existent. I thought the only way you can get into music was you need to go to Tennessee, LA, Chicago, like Atlanta.
Okay.
Those were like, and they still are the big pillars, you know. But I was like, music here doesn't really happen in the way that it does out there, and it still doesn't, but it does happen out here.
Right.
And I think I found that out was when I was like 15. Due to just my experiences of like, you know, my family and just the people I was around people that we went out and we talked and we just had millions of conversations and made friends.
Yeah.
And I was able to run into some of the veterans here in Kansas City who are just musicians, audio engineers, photographers, and like figure out, where are these people going to meet these new musicians in Kansas City? And it was so funny. It would be like shows that were not promoted well at like these venues around Kansas City. And then it would be like these songwriting workshops. And then it went from songwriting workshops to like, there's a music video being shot here down in the West Bottoms that you don't know about, you know, and all these artists that are doing really cool things. And they were all friends. Yeah. And so
you really got to know, you got to know somebody who isn't going to gatekeep from you, but also that takes you proving to like the scene that you
belong,
that you belong, that you too are serious about your craft, and you can tell that I'm serious because of the way that I use craft.
Yeah.
But no, I'm kidding. But,
he didn't say his music. He said his craft.
Yeah. No, but
that's real though.
In Colorado, it's like nobody cares about it enough to gatekeep. So it's like shows weren't being promoted well. Like there weren't any talks about like, like there's a songwriting workshop over here. There's I've even gone as far as going into like a script / like movie writing workshop, and met different creatives that way who then like come to find out him and I are friends with, and we didn't even know. Like this happened last week. It was like, wait,
you start to realize how crazy like everything connects. Like
it's really inclusive, but you have to kind of
go find it, and you have to kind of get. So
one of the biggest things that I also learned is just something that like I kind of tapped into. I was really locked into like nonprofit work because I grew up with a very like strong like community mindset. Like, you know, my grandmother was a teacher. She's worked with schools all over Kansas City, like part of the MNEA, and her whole thing was community. So I grew up with that. So one thing I noticed though, growing up with her, every time we would go somewhere, it would be with like she was meeting like people like that were huge names, but they're a part of like, I think we forget is that the people that we want to connect with and that we want to network with usually are finding a way to get back to the community, especially if they're like good, whatever they're in, you know? And so like a lot of times I was like, okay, not only can I align my passion for like community outreach, I can also like do what I need to do in my own career. Yeah. So it was like when I got connected with the music nonprofits and the agriculture nonprofits, it helped me get connected with like business people who are like business managers and then also other musicians who are signed to labels who may have Grammys, like, and I would like really learn from them, not just like let me get in the studio and record with you, but like really learn from them, like what is this, what is happening, like how do I navigate this as a young artist, even 100 with me, like how much I'm gonna have to give get where I'm trying to go.
Yeah.
And they'll level with you, especially because they're meeting you in a space where their hearts are already at.
I can't remember what Rick said on that episode, but it was
Yeah.
something along the lines of like receiving and then you got to return.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I've met a lot of people who, like, the coffee shop that we're in, there was a movie shot here.
Really?
There's a movie scene for this thing. I think it's a horror movie called The Stylist, and there's
Okay.
a killing scene that I think happened in here, right? But you wouldn't know that just by like talking to Dina, because she's probably not even thinking about that, because
Right.
she's more focused on building her brand and
Yeah.
trying to focus on that. But along the way, when you start to kind of prove yourself in the creative scene, it becomes like super communal, and then you start to find out like, oh, like this person's down to help me, like I'm gonna help them too. Like once you receive the output of whatever it is that you're trying to do, like say like for me, my spawn business, and it's like Malik is like over here helping me with songwriting or vocals or
Yeah.
whatever it is, then you start to see like everybody kind of doing that.
Yeah.
I think you had mentioned if you could get a deal from each person that you knew, then you probably wouldn't even have to look for deals ever.
Yeah. And so the analogy was if everybody that I knew well enough to sit down and have a 30-minute conversation that wasn't just like the weather. You know what I mean? Like I know what's going on with their kids, or I know what's going on with their business or whatever. If everybody I knew like that is somebody I would consider a friend, if every one of those people would like come to me when they needed a loan, or if they referred like their friends to me when they needed a loan, I would never have to like cold call a realtor or a financial planner or anything like that ever again. And so it's about, and so I have sort of become obsessed with I'm just going to connect with people, because if I can turn them into friends authentically, like genuinely, that's how you grow your sphere of influence. And I think it's interesting that, you can make a choice if you're going to be competitive or you can be collaborative.
Yeah.
And in
That's real.
in the business world and sales, like it's, we keep track and we can be very zero sum about it. We can be like, that guy's getting deals, I'm not getting deals, and I can like have a beef with them. But when I was a musician, because I played in a band in like the late 90s, I was competitive. And I probably, there were a couple people, there were a couple bands, there were a couple, that I had some good relationships with that I can think of. But I think I approached, when I was your age and I was trying to do music, I just did not have the mindset, not even for success, but just for some sort of depth. You know what I mean?
If I'm being honest, like that was like the biggest thing to learn that I learned young. Like, so I used to busk on the plaza, like when I was like 17, 18 to 19. And it would be from 12 to 12. And it was like all these other musicians where we're
Sounds
all
awful.
No, it actually was great.
Oh, really?
Like it made my voice really strong.
You said you used to busk?
Busk.
Like I'm like playing like
Yeah.
12 to 12. Like
I thought you meant like a bus boy, like bussing tables.
Yeah, that does sound terrible.
That does sound terrible, but no. But like so like it was crazy because it taught me like you have. I kid you not, one of my closest friends at the time was this saxophone player. He's probably still does it every now and then. But he was on the plaza and he was across the street. And for a few weeks, it was like I'm going hard on my side of the street. He's going hard on his side of the street. I'm like, and you can imagine me on an acoustic guitar and he's got a sax and he's playing loud. And I'm like,
It's like that scene from Scott Pilgrim versus the World where the two things go against each other. Yeah.
But it was actually really funny though, because this was like the biggest sign that I could ever got was like, he was over there and he's like trying to make more money than me and I'm trying to make more money than him. And then this was crazy. He finally came across the street, but he came over to flirt with one of my friends because she was playing with me.
Yeah.
But me and him, he was like, he's always,
He's like, what are you doing with him?
No,
Like,
no, he really low key was. He was like, but he goes, he's like, you're out here like a lot, like me, And he was like, what do you do? We started talking and like he had his master's in like jazz. And finally we're like, we should just like busk together.
Yeah.
And then we started busking together. I kid you not, like this was right before COVID. Like COVID messed everything up because we were busking again from 12 to 12. It was just me and him. So like singer, saxophone player, doing every song you could possibly imagine. And we got good at the performative aspect. And then it got to a point where he was making twice the money he was making when he was solo. I was making twice the money I was making.
When you were together?
Yes, when we were together.
Fire.
And then it got to a point where we were like, Oh, we're sharpening each other's skills because I became a way better performer. I became a way better vocalist, singing with a saxophone player with perfect pitch. He was letting me know when I was flat.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where we built that was kind of like my first small business almost, because we ended up playing for like one of the candidates who was running for office.
Yeah,
And it
that's
was just
fire.
because we were busking on the plaza and like just all these businesses saw us doing our thing. And it made me realize you could be competitive, but then you all stay pretty stagnant. And now I'm like, I'm at this age and I am where I'm 25 and I'm meeting like other artists like Danny and like freaking Jamogi and the Jammer. We're doing shows with them, but I realized
that's another relationship that I didn't even know he knew Jamogi, and then come to find out like he's also my friend.
it was very new.
Yeah.
And so it made me realize I was like, okay. And I heard this from Issa Rae, which was we could keep trying to network up and, get through these gates, or we can network across.
Yeah.
Because networking across is going to lift all of us up. And then we all will be we will be sharper, we will be stronger than we ever were. So like, it's almost like I learn as much as I do alone versus a lot more with someone else that like I can collaborate with in my own lane who gets the journey, and we can actually grow together because I know something you don't know, you know something I don't know.
See, I think that everything is art. And I didn't used to think that way. But when I started looking at, whether it was a sales process, and I'm a big sports fan, or whether it's watching like the NBA or like Formula One, I start to realize, what exactly is art? Okay. So you're taking, you have a medium that you work with, right? You can be a sculptor, you can be a painter, you can be whatever. And you're basically just like taking like the physical world in most cases, and you're manipulating it, right? To create something different. That's no different. When a basketball team is going like up the court, that's what they're doing, right? It looks different than like sculpture. It feels different than like music, right? And so a lot of times you'll sort of be dismissive of athletes, but I think it's all art. And so, but then I'm like, I look at how much it applies to what I've done for 2 decades in sales. So then I'm like, it's all sales. Because, do you know what I mean? Because when you're talking about that, and so we
go back and forth on that a lot.
Well, I figured out one of the things I figured out in this job specifically as a loan officer, because listen, there's thousands of great loan officers here in Kansas City. There's dozens of great lenders with great programs and all that type of stuff. What I figured out was the thing that differentiated me was that it was me at the end of the day. Like I was the product. Ooh. And it is like, but it's when I was playing like the juke joint,
like really though, like I was like, really, I wanted to be like, say that again for the people in the back.
What does that mean? Is that
so like when somebody, you ever been to like a slam poetry event or anything like that?
No.
Or spoken word?
I've wanted to. I feel like I'm the type of person that should have. But
when somebody says something that's very insightful or almost like a proverb,
you're just like
yeah, that's like a snap of agreement. Like say it again. Like let people know it. Like
because
so in case they missed it.
At spoken word events, you just
Okay, I got you. Well, yeah, back then I'm like up there like selling myself like as hard as I can, like, and the feedback I got was if people were like positive feedback where people like dancing around and stuff, and the reality is, that's. It's sort of like I'm built for this because that's what I did. But it's a different method. But that whole collaborative versus like competition, like I don't want to compete with anybody.
Dude, it's exhausting.
And
it's really exhausting, and you always feel like you're like not winning in a weird way because there's always someone that's winning more. Yeah. So it's like
I think that I'm competitive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm competitive. I enjoy sports. I am competitive. And when I say I enjoy sports, I know there are situations where there are winners and there are losers. But there doesn't necessarily have to be that in like that zero-sum way, in business and especially not musicians because what I've just found is that like we can produce something better than like what I can produce.
Oh no,
I was just gonna say like it's really interesting too because you as a loan officer can look up and see like how many deals did he do this month.
Yeah.
We have the same thing where it's like we can see how many monthly listeners somebody has on Spotify, Apple Music, and all that kind of stuff.
And how many shows.
Do you know how ludicrous it is that
how many views somebody has on the reel.
Do you understand like for me we like got together, put all our money together, and recorded a CD, sent it off. The CDs came back, and that's how we got our like music around. And you guys can like post that shit on Spotify tomorrow. It doesn't matter if you suck or not, and
It makes
it makes it
harder because the market is saturated. So now you got to be even better at selling. Like you got to be so much better at selling. That's what like we go back and forth on. Like you have to sell yourself as us as artists.
Yeah, dude, you could just talk.
Because no, this is something and this is something I feel like this is something I'm just realizing is not so saturation for like you get to a point like you say you used to sending your CDs and stuff.
Yeah.
And then now we have the internet and now we're like we can post it, right? It is like whatever is working is what's going to get saturated. And so it's almost like this. It's like someone turns off the light in one. If you're a moth, I'm just gonna put it there. If you're a moth, and somebody turns off the light in one room, but the other light is open, you're gonna go towards that. Yeah. Same thing with like kind of how we market ourselves. It's like we could go where everyone's gonna go because it's already been proven that it works. So everyone's already going over there.
And the algorithm makes it to where it filters you that way, anyways.
Yeah.
And if you're either going with the crowd and along with them, you can maybe be one of the people that is like picked out of the mix, or you're abrasive enough that you're going against the grain, and then maybe they're like, like
dude, we've done a few of these, and this is literally probably the most relevant to the real estate industry podcast that I will have done to this point, because listen, everybody, how does everybody market anymore today? Like social media.
Yeah.
And so, for me, when I started doing this, I saw that there were so many people doing the exact same thing. And initially I was like, well, I gotta figure out a way to do something different.
Yeah. And if I'm being honest too, like one of my, like where I'm at right now is like, everybody's on social media. Everybody's made every type of content is being made. Yeah. And so it's like I'm at this point where it's like I'm getting overwhelmed and a little bit burnt out on it. So my thing is like I'm gonna go back to paying attention to what the old school was doing. Like like now it's to a point where like okay, I'm trying to get enough numbers so that that my fan base can see me and that these labels and support can see me. I'm like, nah, screw that. I want to I'm sending my music to you directly. Yeah. I'm not going to just post it out with hopes. Like I'm going to send you my music directly, because that's what we used to have to do back when we didn't have this much communication.
So,
we had to market ourselves in the real world almost. So it's like, I think we got to bring that back, and then because it's going to keep going back and forth. That's all life is back and forth with the way we communicate.
Well, I'm gonna sound like an old man here, a bitter old man who didn't end up being a rock star. but I think that I remember when I was when we were playing out, like we played out for maybe a year and a half. And we never actually saw like people didn't have phones recording, right? Yeah. And so I made, I had a buddy that I worked with who like was a amateur like photog, ended up getting into journalism. But one night he came with this like really nice camera and he shot our show. And it was like, oh, this is badass. This is gonna be cool. And the night when we got home and we watched it, I was like, we have been inviting our friends and everybody we know for the last year to come and listen to this. And
in
so,
a good way or bad way?
Oh, in a bad way. It was like, I think I can sing. I've been singing all my life, and it was just like, that may be close to the right key. Like it was so sloppy. And so we basically just kind of had to go like back to the drawing board and be like, let's get this shit sorted out. And so I feel like the technology today makes it really easy to not be a very good musician.
Oh.